Hello, and welcome to another episode of Profiting Through Purpose. I'm Carla P. Yarbrough, and I am so glad to come to you today. Profiting Through Purpose is where we discuss ways of using the purpose that God has given you to sustain your life and have the abundant life Jesus died for us to have. Well, I am so glad to talk to you today. It's feels I don't know why it feels like it's been so long since I've talked to you guys, but it hasn't really. But today I'm excited about this conversation that we're going to have because today we're going to be talking about something that sounds a little weird. It's called farming your success. Farming your success. If you are going to be successful in the purpose that God designed for you to have, and you're going to sustain your life and be able to take care of your family and yourself and have that abundant life Jesus came for you to have, you're going to have to farm that success. And what does that mean? What exactly does it mean to farm your success? What does it mean to get into this thing and get down and dirty with it, as some people would say? Well, listen, let's talk about that. When I talk about farming your success, it means let's think of a farmer. Let's put it that way. Think of a farmer. The Bible tells us that sowing and reaping, everything is designed by sowing and reaping. It tells us as long as the earth remains, there will be seed, time, and harvest. And it also talks about, what a man sows, they will also reap. So anything that you're going to do, you're going to have to sow a seed for. But, in recent years, I won't even say recent years, lately, since I was, since I got into the thing of really understanding the things of God, I've heard a lot about people talking about how they're going to receive a harvest. It's harvest. It's harvest. Oh, everybody, and people get so excited in the church when you say, you're about to get your harvest. You're going to get your harvest. And you get all these people praising the Lord and screaming. And that's a reason, yes, that is a very good reason to be excited when you talk about harvesting. But a lot of people that are in that crowd that are praising the Lord and hollering and screaming and running around the church talking about because they're so excited about harvest, haven't sown the seed that they need to harvest. They're going to harvest something. But the question is, what are you going to harvest? What are you going to harvest? Are you actually going to get a harvest of what you desire? Or are you going to get a harvest of more of the same or what you really don't desire? And we need to think about that. When we're talking about our purpose and we're talking about success, you can't sow the seeds of laziness, slothfulness as the Bible calls it, or not sow any seeds at all and expect a harvest of success. You can't do that. That's not you. If you sow apple seeds, you are not going to get cucumbers. It just doesn't work that way, correct? And it's the same within the body of Christ. The Bible says, whatever you sow, that will you also reap. So if you sow a lot of leisure time, you cannot expect success. You can't get success from leisure. You see what I'm saying? You can't get success from spending time scrolling on social media. It doesn't work that way. Unless that is actually your job to scroll on social media, you're not going to get success from that. And a lot of times people have this ideology that the success that they're going to receive is miraculous. The Bible talks about diligence. It talks about diligence. It says the diligent hand makes rich. But we don't want to sow any diligence in the area of our purpose. We don't want, a lot of times, people that are in that crowd that we just talked about, that's, praising the Lord and yelling in the church about, it's harvest time. They're not diligent for whatever reason. It doesn't have to necessarily be laziness. It also can be fear. It can be, a lot of people are afraid of the what if, the unknown, and they won't sow seeds towards their success. Let's take for example, if you are purposed to be an entrepreneur and have your own cleaning company that cleans office buildings, right? But you're working at a plant on the line, right? But you know you enjoy cleaning. You's like, I can go and I can clean this building from top to bottom, and I can have workers under me. You understand all the chemical compounds so that you're not mixing things that shouldn't be mixed. You have all the, all the tricks of the trade on how to make things sparkle and get it done quickly, and you know where to get all your tools and utilities utilities from, so you could do the best possible job. But you're afraid of losing the security of working on the line. You're afraid, so you won't even start taking the steps to move towards that entrepreneurial endeavor. And the simple steps could be, I work on the line during the day and I take a couple of contracts at night, and I keep doing it until I build up, and maybe I hire some people so that I don't have to come off the line, because I can still enjoy my full health benefits and whatever it is, because I'm not making enough as an entrepreneur just yet necessarily to pay for my health insurance and things like that. I could pay my, because after taxes, if you live where I live, okay, taxes is something else, but after taxes of your business, you may not be making enough, right? So you're still building, you're building. But those are seeds. Getting that first contract is a seed. Promoting that business is a seed. Sending out flyers, sending out pitches, talking to people, going to events and in the evenings, and hiring new people so that they can get some work, do some of the work for you while you haven't lost your security. You keep working at that job until you're losing money by being at that job. You see, until you're losing money by being at that job. It's your purpose. But your purpose is over in the entrepreneurial endeavor. But if you're not sowing any seeds towards it, how do you expect to reap a harvest of a large cleaning company? If your dream is to have this huge cleaning company that is cleaning a half of the businesses, corporate businesses in the city where you live, you have to start by first sowing the seeds and that diligence. And sometimes it's not necessarily laziness. It can be fear. It can be fear of loss. Fear, we can also get caught up in the we've talked about this before, and you hear about this a lot. You can get caught up in imposter syndrome. I don't know what to do. I don't know how I don't belong in this room. Especially, one of the things that's really where I get caught up a lot of times with imposter syndrome, I have gotten caught up in the past with imposter syndrome, is because I am a speaker. And as a speaker, you are called upon a lot of times to speak on things that are not necessarily in your wheelhouse or in your industry, right? But now as a speaker, I can speak on any area, because part of being a speaker is research. And it depends on what crowd I'm speaking to, what I'm going to say. If I'm speaking to the medical profession, let's say, if I'm speaking to a group of doctors, my field is human and social services. My master's is in human and social services. So I am a human service professional. I can really speak to those doctors about compassion and understanding their patients and not becoming jaded. I could talk to them about taking care of themselves and how if they don't take care of themselves, they can't take care of anyone else. I can talk to them about developing programs that will better serve their patients while adhering to the regulations that govern them as medical professionals. There's a lot of areas I can speak to them in, right? But sometimes if I'm speaking to, I've been called upon to speak to some other various groups, but if I'm speaking to somebody that works in water purification, let's put it that way, water purification, it can seem as if I wouldn't be able to speak to them. But because I'm a speaker, I can. But I could actually get caught up in like, okay, wait a minute, I'm a human service professional and I can't do that because that's water purification. That's not human services. I mean, yeah, we're taking care of people's water, but how does it? And I can get caught up in all of those things rather than going ahead and doing the research I need to, finding the place where I actually fit and sowing that seed. Because once I sow that seed in that industry, and I go knock it out of the park and I kill the game on that speech, in that speaking arena, guess what? That's a seed that's going to grow. Because the next time when someone hears it, they're like, oh my goodness, and now all I have to do is cultivate that seed. Now that's the next part of the farming. The first part is sowing the seed and not being afraid to sow the seed, not being too caught up in self or leisure behavior or laziness to sow the seed. But after that seed is sown, you have to cultivate that seed. And that's another place in the farming of your success that people have a tendency to fall off. See, they want this harvest, but the work that it takes to do, that they have to do in order to get that harvest, are they willing to do? So you sowed the seed, right? You got the seed. Okay, I wasn't lazy and I wasn't afraid and I didn't get caught up in imposter syndrome. I went out and I sowed the seed. I did the thing, right? It's in the dirt. It's now seed grow. But guess what comes up? Weeds. Birds. Sometimes you have a drought and you don't get rain for a while when you sow a seed. All of these various things. So you have to go out there and take care of your seed. Cultivate that thing. Make sure it grows. You might have to go pull weeds. And what does pulling weeds look like when you're trying to farm your success? Pulling weeds means that you're going to may have to get rid of some employees that you may have had to hire. Or you might have to get rid of some contracts that you took on that really they really didn't serve your business. Let me give you a real good example of this. My husband has been a producer, video multimedia producer. He does television. He does he's award-winning documentary producer. He's won 2 awards for documentaries, 2 or 3 for documentaries. He does commercials. He's been doing it for a number of years, right? And takes clients and works for a whole lot of different people. But sometimes over the years, he's gotten clients that are not a good fit for his business. One thing I will tell you, and this is a tip for anybody that's an entrepreneur. Okay, you will never turn a low budget client into a high paying client. And sometimes when you're in an entrepreneurial endeavor and you really want to get the money, or you really want to get some kind of business, you'll take these low budget, these clients that really have a little bit of money. And you'll find out that a client that has only a little bit of money will give you the most headache. And I always tell my husband, listen, if you're going to give me a headache, they're going to give you a headache, they need to pay for your Excedrin. They got to pay for the Tylenol. I'm sorry, you cannot take a client that's going to give you all this headache about what they want, and they're not paying for that thing. They're not paying what it takes to actually do that. And so when he finds those kind of clients that are just this big headache, they have all of these desires and everything, but they don't have the money to pay for it, sometimes he has to pull that weed and let that client go. And it can be painful because, especially as a small business, especially as an entrepreneur, sometimes that client has become intricately involved in your business because you don't have a lot of clients. And so you're willing to do so much. And so they've entangled themselves with you. And when you got to let them go, it feels almost like you're losing a family member or a friend, because you've been getting some business from them. But in order for you to move higher, you have to pull that weed and make room for the actual seed that you've planted to grow. And that's what it means to pull and cultivate that weed. Sometimes you got to water it, right? Sometimes you got to water that seed. What does watering that seed look like when you're when you're farming your success? It means putting money into it. Sometimes we have to tighten our belt and sacrifice those things that we want, like that cup of coffee, that $4 to $6 cup of coffee that you're buying every day, so that you can buy equipment, or you could buy some more ads to put into your business, or you can go to an event just to get it. You can get a table and go to an event. That's watering your seed. That is in fact watering your seed, because you're putting nutrients into that thing. You're checking on it all the time. You're cultivating it, making sure the soil is ready, it is pliable and soft and moist so that that seed can grow. But guess what? That requires work. That requires discipline. And the discipline of a farmer is out of this world. My dad actually is a farmer. And that's why I can speak so much on this. My father, he's an accountant, but he grew up on a farm, and and once he retired, he went back and continued to farm the land that he grew up on. And I learned a lot about the gardening and how seeds work, and it really spoke to me when I'm thinking about people and their businesses and their purpose. You have to be willing to farm your success. You can't sit up and say, "Oh, I'm going to get this big harvest," but you haven't planted any seed, or you put the seed in the ground and you let the weeds choke it out. Because if you let those little businesses choke you out, you will die. You will never, I will say this again, you will never turn, I'll put it in numbers form. You will never turn a $2,000 client into a $20,000 client. They won't do it. Why? That type of weed, that weed client is that client. If they're getting everything they want for $2,000, why in the world would they later pay you $20,000? Because the thing that you'll hear from that client that is a weed is that you'll hear them say a lot of times, "Oh, when I come into mine, I'm gonna take you along with me. Basically, when I blow up, you blow up." And no, that's not how it works. Over and over again, I hear stories, and I've even seen it with my husband, that those same $2,000 clients, those $3,000 clients that said, "When I blow up, you blow up," when they actually do get a larger budget and they can do something that they can actually pay you, they go and get somebody else to do that work, because they really did, because you taught them that you were not a seed worth valuing. You allowed them to choke out your seed and draw all the nutrients from you so that they got big and strong and went to someone else who didn't allow them to choke out their seed. You see how that weed works? Weeds are awful things. So if your purpose to be an entrepreneur or any factor in your life, say your purpose to be an engineer, right? What does a weed look like in that? How do you cultivate that? You're in school going for your engineering degree, and you're allowing people to come alongside you and get all your notes all the time and hang out with you and draw off of you and suck you dry to the point that you can't get your homework done, or you're not doing the best possible job you can do. Those are the weeds that you have to cut those things off. Even if they're friends, sometimes you need to look to see, are they sucking me dry? So cultivating that seed is very, very important. And watering that seed. That's part of farming, right? Because because in order for that seed to grow into this large harvest that you desire, it has to have that room and that space and those nutrients that it needs. Now, people that are those same people that we talked about at the very beginning, that are hollering and screaming about, "Oh yes, it's harvest time." A lot of times they don't understand how much work harvest is. They really don't understand how much work harvest is. In the farming process, my dad will tell you, you will never work harder than during the harvest season. See, planting the seed is, it takes some tenacity, it takes some guts, because like I said, a lot of times you have to put yourself aside, or you have to get over your fears, and you have to build up your confidence. And then in the cultivating portion, in the guarding your seed, it still takes continued guts, because that means you're going to have to cut some people off, and you're going to have to do some extra things and make some sacrifices to make sure your seed is watered and has the nutrients it needs. But in the harvest season, once that thing blooms into this beautiful, beautiful harvest, and you have all of this fruit, you have to go out there and get that fruit, or else the fruit will die on the vine. And a lot of people hollering and screaming about who my harvest is coming in. They look out there and they see all of that fruit that's on the vine. And it can become overwhelming. And it can become overwhelming because they did not take the steps in during the cultivating season to prepare for the harvest. They may not have hired the people that they need to hire to help them work the contracts that they had. The contracts that they've gotten, they've watered it, and they put out all these flyers and done all this great marketing, and they've gotten rid of the little clients that are sucking them dry and everything like that. And now you have all of these clients that are coming to you, and we love your work, we love your work, we love your work, but you only got you now. You did not train anybody. And now it's time for harvest, and you are wore out. You are worn out because you can't harvest it all because you did not do all the things that you needed to do. You're going to work hard, or you did work hard. You did do the things that you needed to do to harvest it, but it's still a lot. And you didn't recognize it was going to be so much work. And then people will turn away because this is just too much. I was overwhelmed. Harvest for a farmer, they work. Harvest is so important that my father talks about how when he was younger during harvest season, tells you how old my dad is. During harvest season, even though it was like in the fall of the year, they would get weeks off of school in order for all the farmers' kids to come home just to harvest what was ever in the crops, because it's so much work. And there's so much coming in. And then the thing is, once they harvest everything and they do all that work, and they're working from sun up to sundown every day, sometimes for like a month. It depends on what you grow and how long it takes for you to get it in. Okay? So sometimes they're working every day from sun up to sundown for like a month to pull in all the harvest. It depends on how much seed you have sown and how much land you have. It's a very big undertaking to harvest. Is it a blessing? Yes, because when you harvest, you're going to eat, and you're going to have enough to share with so many people. And it is such a blessing because you can't be overwhelmed with that blessing. But when you farm, you're a success. Another thing people don't understand about it is that it's not over once you harvest. Not for the farmer. Not for the farmer. Because now that harvest has to be processed. It has to be processed. Strawberries don't get to the store the same way they were pulled out of the field. Now you have some people, I've seen in recent years, you have some companies that just have the people pulling them out of the field, and they put them in the containers and they ship them straight to the store, so they don't get washed, they don't get processed. But there are some companies that actually process their harvest. They have to wash whatever it is. It has to be shaken from the dirt has to be shaken from it. If you some companies that sell corn actually have to shuck and take the silk and the hull off of the corn. If they are harvesting peas or beans, those peas or beans have to be shucked. That's the best way to put it. They have to take the peas out. They have to take the beans or peas out of the hull. And it's a lot of work. A harvest season does not stop at just going out and getting the fruit from the vine or the vegetables or whatever it is in the field out of the field. It has to be processed. But if you're not set to do that processing, you can be leaving so much. Your harvest will spoil in the vats, in the storage. So you got all of these beans, you got all of these peas, but I harvested, but I didn't process it. I didn't when I brought the harvest in, I got the clients, And I did the initial work, but I haven't kept cultivating that relationship. I didn't do good business. I did not budget properly. So I didn't pay my taxes like I was supposed to. Or I didn't set aside money to put more marketing money into the business so it can for the next season of planting. Those are all processing things. If you're going to farm your success, it comes in a number of different ways. If you're going to have success, you're going to have to think of it like that farmer, like the Bible says: seed, time, and harvest. And whatever it is you sow, just know that's exactly what you're going to reap. So if you don't sow anything, you get nothing. If you sow partially, if you only sow a little bit, guess what? You'll have a little harvest. But then if you sow and you don't cultivate your seed, it'll choke it out and it'll die. And when you harvest, when you do get the harvest, if you do not process the harvest, it will spoil. Success and purpose is work. And I think that we have done a real disservice to people in the Christian community, having them believe that it's just, when you hear people that don't know the Lord say, oh, you got this pie in the sky. Because a lot of times we talk about the miracles of God, and we talk about how he does so many things for us and all the blessings of God. But we don't talk about how he expects us to participate in the growth of the kingdom, to participate in the plan that he has for us. Participating in the plan that he has for us means that we actually have to farm our success, farm our purpose, so that we can grow the kingdom of God and people can see how wonderful and great he is by how he works through us. That is all I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this conversation. I hope it sparks something in you so that you can see yourself or what stage of that farming of your success you're in. If you have any questions, you can just please email me, leave them in the comments. And if you want to know more about finding your purpose and living out that thing God has for you, you can click the link somewhere around this podcast and get the book, The Truth About Purpose and How to Find It. It is a step-by-step process of how to work with the Holy Spirit and find the purpose that God has for your life and live it out so that you can have the abundant life Jesus came for you to have and sustain your life and enjoy your life through the purpose God has for you. I will talk to you soon. Once again, I'm Carla P. Yarbrough. I look forward to our next conversation. Bye-bye.